Welcome to America's Heroes Group with our Roundtable partner, Jessie Brown VA today. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. Our host is Kelley. I'm your co-host today, U.S. Air Force veteran and host of a Women Have a Voice program. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scouts Honor Productions. On our panel today, you're joined by Robert Christopher. Robert Christopher serves as the Executive for Business Development at Jessie Brown VA Medical Center. Thank you so much for being on the panel today, Robert.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Debra.
Good to see you. Now, let's start off. We're going to actually have a two-part program today. So part one, we're going to talk about PACT Act events, and our second show is going to be on the benefits involved. So let's start with, can you briefly explain what the PACT Act is for those who may not understand it and, how it might affect them?
Yes, thanks for asking that. It's always good to review. I know on this program you've had folks throughout the year, a couple times at least, talking about the PACT Act. But just to recap, the PACT Act is a new law that was signed by the President Biden, last August, and it expands benefits, both health care and benefits, to veterans who've been exposed to burn pits and other toxic exposures. The law helps us provide generations of veterans and their survivors with the care and benefits they've earned and deserve. So the VA has added more than 20 burn pit and other toxic exposure presumptive conditions, we'll call it, based on the PACT Act. So this change expands benefits for Gulf War era and post 9/11 era veterans. I'm not going to go through all of these presumptive conditions because there's quite a few and we'd be here all day, but some of the illnesses that are now considered presumptive include asthma that was diagnosed after service, chronic bronchitis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, chronic rhinitis, chronic sinusitis, constrictive bronchiolitis, or obliterative bronchiolitis, emphysema, granulomatous disease, and interstitial lung disease. We've also added two new Agent Orange presumptive conditions: high blood pressure, also known as hypertension, and monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance, known as MGUS. So veterans are encouraged to file for service connection for these new presumptive conditions. And I know that in the past, a lot of veterans who have these conditions have signed up or tried to enroll and were denied. But this new law changes that. And I understand that a lot of veterans probably have fatigue from having gone through that and been denied. And I'm really sorry about that. But now the law has expanded the coverage. So please, come see us. And I know we're going to talk about some of the events we've planned and we have coming up.
Great. That is quite a long list, and it's good that they're adding them too. That's important, as they come up. That's great. Now, talk about some of the events coming up, and like how this came about would be great to know.
Sure. So this, when the law was signed in August, we spent a lot of time planning around how to get the word out, because in August it made the news, but then, September, October, November, people may not have seen the news in August, never heard about it or forgot about it. So we spent a lot of time informing our veteran constituencies here in the Chicagoland area and in Northwest Indiana about the PACT Act. And then we held our first event in December at the Jessie Brown main campus. We had another one at our Auburn Gresham CBOC on the south side in March. And then we had another one last month at Jessie Brown main campus, and one at our CBOC in Crown Point, ABJ, Adam Benjamin Jr. Clinic in Crown Point, Indiana. And we have one coming up this month on July 29th at our outpatient clinic in Chicago Heights. That'll be July 29th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And at this event, veterans will have an opportunity to enroll for VA health care. They'll have an opportunity to get screened for toxic exposures. And they'll also have an opportunity to file PACT Act-related claims with representatives from the Veterans Benefits Administration. I know you're going to be talking about that in your next segment. So this is a great opportunity for veterans to learn more about their benefits by coming to one of these events.
I think that's great that they're able to do it right there, at the event, right? They can just do everything. The testing, enroll.
Yep. And that's why, the old expression, bring the mountain to Muhammad. So we didn't expect all the veterans, particularly those who live distances away from our medical center, which is in the heart of the city. And it's not easy to get to if you live a long way away or in Northwest Indiana. We decided we needed to come to where the veterans are. Unfortunately, we have a lot of community-based outpatient clinics in parts of the city as well as suburbs and in Northwest Indiana. So we've been making every effort to do that. So the event we have planned in July, I mentioned, we are looking at additional events in August and September. Those haven't happened yet. But if there are people who are out there listening in your audience who don't live in any of the areas I mentioned, please give me a call or give us a call at Jesse Brown if you've got some ideas where you'd like us to hold that.
Great. Now, you mentioned a lot of events in Chicago. Are there going to be events like any other locations, or is this a national campaign that's going to be taking place?
Yeah, this is a national campaign happening all over the country, and I know you have people listening in your audience who are from other, who are not in the Chicagoland area. So my suggestion would be call your local VA medical center and ask, or your Veterans Regional Office for the VBA, and ask about if there are any PACT Act events planned, or how they can learn more about their benefits as a result of the PACT Act.
Great. What do you feel triggered this sudden, I know the information came out, last year, but as far as what do you think triggered the need for these type of events in all, nationally?
I think I think the answer to that question is twofold. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, just continuing to get the word out about it, because perhaps some people weren't reading the newspapers or watching the TV or listening to the radio the day the president signed it, so they may not even know. But also, it's an opportunity for veterans who are not currently enrolled in VA or not currently receiving the benefits from the VBA, who are entitled to them to get those benefits and to get the health care that they deserve, that they've earned. So we want to make sure, and we want to do everything we can, both locally and nationally, to ensure that veterans are aware of this.
Absolutely. It's been a long time coming, I know, for this to happen. So this is great that it's here. You're going to have on-site, enrollment, testing, so that's going to really impact, the veterans getting involved and being able to take advantage of these benefits. That's great. Now, as far as being at the events, have you had any experiences, as you're talking to veterans and you're there, of just something that might have stood out to you as far as being at these events?
Yeah. One lots of anecdotal stories to share, but one in particular that really touched me. One of the events we held that I didn't mention, we had a Veterans Information Week in May that was co-sponsored with one of the aldermen here in the city of Chicago. And it was all in the 15th Ward. And every day throughout that particular ward, the 15th Ward, we had a different event. And we included PACT Act information. So people could come and get information about the PACT Act. There were VBA representatives at these events in the 15th Ward. And I attended one of them in the Canaryville neighborhood on the southwest side. And a gentleman came in. He was a 90-year-old veteran. His daughter brought him in. He was sharp as a tack. He just couldn't hear very well. And he had been in Vietnam and exposed to Agent Orange, had previously filed claims that have been denied, but they felt that because of the information we had shared about the PACT Act, that he might have an opportunity, and indeed he did. And when when I was talking to his daughter, I said, well, doesn't he wear hearing aids? And she said, we can't afford hearing aids. Medicare doesn't cover them. I said, so he's not being seen in the VA? She said, no, he's not, but we just enrolled. And I said, well, I've got good news for you. His hearing aids will be covered, and he doesn't have to pay a cent. He's already paid that by his service to the country. And her response to me was, you've changed his life, and you've changed our life. And I said, you know what? It's the least I can do. It's the least we can do. So that was one of the stories that, and there are hundreds, probably thousands of them across the country, people finding out not only about their PACT Act benefits, but other things as a result of that.
Yes. And I hear that story all the time where veterans are like, I'm not going to do, I'm 70. Why should I even try for benefits? They just kind of give up on the fact that they could possibly have benefits. And that's like a perfect example of someone who, 90-year-old, realizing that he qualifies for benefits. And right. You can't hear that affects your quality of life, right? You can't have conversations, and, that's just really tough. So that's great. Love that story. Now, what do you feel is, go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing was because of his past experience in filing claims and having been denied, he thought that he wasn't therefore entitled to health care through the VA, and actually for other reasons, he would have been all along. So we have to do a better job. That's not his fault. That's our fault for not explaining. Just because you're denied a certain benefit in one area doesn't mean you necessarily don't have the health care benefit. So it's so complex, and the rules are complicated and changing, and it's up to us to make sure that veterans aren't confused about that.
Absolutely. So education, knowledge is power, right? We get the knowledge out there. Like, these events are going to help people find out that they could qualify for the PACT Act, benefits or other benefits. So that's great. What do you feel the response? It sounds like positive from your story, but what do you feel the community and veterans in general have had? What has been their response to these many events that you've been having?
We've had great turnout at all these events. At all of them, at our first event, for example, we had about 50 people register in advance. We took walk-ins. We had twice the number who registered actually show up. So, and you don't have to register to attend these events. We encourage that, but you don't have to. We will see walk-ins. And that's pretty much been the way all along at all of the events we've held. We've had more people show up than register. Turnout's been really good. The one area where we can improve, and we're working hard to do that, is getting the word about these events out to veterans who are not currently enrolled in the VA for health care. So if any of you in the listening audience in the Chicagoland area, if you know any veterans who aren't currently receiving their care at the VA, please tell them about our event at the Chicago Heights CBOC on July 29th. That's a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Where could they find out more information about the event? Are they posting it anywhere that they can forward the information to any family members?
Yes, we have a flyer that has all the details about the event, and it also has a QR code where you can register to attend. Again, you don't have to register. We will see people who aren't registered to attend. We'll take walk-ins, but we encourage you to do that. But the flyer is posted on our social media sites, at Jesse Brown's social media sites, and on our website.
Great. Now, do you have a takeaway that you feel like you want veterans to come away with when they come to the event? Do you, is there a goal of, this is what I want. When they come to the event, I want this to happen. What is the outcome that you're looking for?
I want them to be informed and learn what they're entitled to, what their benefits are, and I want them to learn things they didn't even know they were entitled to. That's always a great thing. Oh, just like the gentleman I told you about didn't know he was entitled to free hearing aids. I want them to also tell us what needs they might have that we can help them with. This is specific to the PACT Act, but if we're enrolling someone for health care and they have a specific need, there are people at these events who can make future appointments at our hospital or at our outpatient clinic to meet those needs for veterans attending these events.
Great. Now, have you noticed, do you feel these events have been, I know you have touched on some, a really awesome story, but do you feel like these events have had an impact on people actually receiving PACT Act benefits or being able to find that, they actually are eligible? Have you seen that number increase and people actually gaining benefits?
Yes, yeah, that has happened not only here locally, but across the country. And again, there are hundreds of anecdotal stories we receive every week at Jesse Brown, and I know our colleagues at other VAs across the country are hearing that information from post 9/11 era veterans as well as Vietnam era veterans, and even the spouses of veterans who in the past had filed for benefits and were denied, but now because of the rule change, they're entitled. And in some cases, this is really something your guest in the next segment can talk about, but in some cases, if a veteran had applied for a benefit, been denied, and has subsequently passed away, that veteran's surviving spouse can actually apply for the compensation benefit and receive it. So that's been one of the nice, when we have these events, we work closely with our VBA colleagues, and that's one of the nice things we've seen as well at these events.
I think that's such a great point that the military spouses kind of get left out of the piece. They don't think, they're qualified or they don't have any benefits. I just spoken with the Military Spouses Association previously at another event, and it was just amazing that, there are so many things that they can qualify for too. That's such a great point in that compensation piece.
Right.
That's amazing. It's interesting you said that about the 9-year-old veteran. I had an uncle who's 70, and I have an uncle. He's still here. And he said that, I encouraged him to, try to get benefits. And he said, no, I don't really want to. I tried when I was 25, and it was so hard to convince him to try again. Do you find that when you're talking to people too?
Yes, we do. When we're promoting the events, we hear that, you know what, I came to your hospital 7 years ago when I was having some respiratory problems that I still have. Or our VBA friends will hear the same thing. I filed a claim 7 years ago and you denied it. I wasn't eligible for health care. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. But guess what? I've got good news. Things have changed. The coverage and the eligibility has been expanded, and you should give us another chance, and we'll make it easy for you. All you have to do is show up. You don't even have to show up. You can call us, but if you show up, you can learn a lot of things, and then we'll do the rest.
Absolutely. We have about 30 seconds left, but do you have a final message for our audience?
Just for those in the Chicagoland area, please come to our PACT Act Claims Clinic on the 29th of this month at the Chicago Heights Ski Box on Dixie Highway in Chicago Heights from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You'll get to meet me, and you'll get to meet probably the guests in your next segment as well, and we look forward to seeing you.
And for more information, who should they call?
They can go to the Jesse Brown website and find out more information about the upcoming PACT Act events there. Or they can reach out to me. My email address is Robert, R-O-B-E-R-T, .Christopher, C-H-R-I-S COCHER 1 at va.gov.
Great. Thank you so much, Robert, for being a guest today. Stay tuned.
Right.
We'll be back with more America's Heroes Group.
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host of America's Heroes Group. We have helped hundreds and thousands of veterans find the resources they needed to move on past trauma, find the services they need to heal, find training, jobs, and housing. That's our mission. To support this mission so that we can continue our work and have even more veteran stories of overcoming and success, we need your help. Right now, please consider making a donation to America's Heroes Group. Dig deep and give what you can to support this mission and help those veterans in need. You can donate through Chase Bank's Zelle app by adding America's Heroes Group as a recipient with our phone number 312-804-5831. You can donate through PayPal on our website, americashg.org. From the home page, go to donations, or you can go straight to www.americashg.org/donations. And finally, you can send a check to America's Heroes Group, Inc., 155 North Quaker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group Roundtable with our partner, the Chicago Regional Office of Veteran Benefits Administration. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And today is Saturday, July 8th, 2023. Our host is Cliff Kelley. I'm your co-host, Debra Denhart, a U.S. Air Force veteran and host of Women Have a Voice program. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scouts Honor Productions. And today on our panel, we have Justyna Berry. Justyna is a U.S. Army veteran who served in Iraq and currently the assistant coach for the Public Contact Team and Intake Processing Center team at the Chicago VA Regional Office. Justyna, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on this show. I'm so happy to be back. How's everyone doing?
Yes, doing great. How are you doing?
I am so excited to be here and just spread the word on PACT Act and our events that we had and events that are coming up. I'm just super excited to be here.
Wonderful. So let's start off with what your role is going to be. This is our part 2 of our PACT Act events coming up. What is the VA's role during these events?
So, as you guys heard on the last show, we partner with the VA Health Administration to create these events in which a veteran could get enrolled into healthcare, they can get a toxic screening, and for the Veterans Benefits Administration, we assist them with filing a claim. They can also find out information about the current status of their claim and just in general, just get information about what benefits are specific to them.
That's wonderful. Now, are there, when we're talking benefits, right, there's always deadlines involved. And can you mention any deadlines that they should kind of be aware of coming, along with the PACT Act?
Sure, of course. So the PACT Act was signed into legislation on August 10th, 2022. So anytime there's a change in legislation for Veteran Benefits Administration, they can go back 1 year in benefits. So what that means for veterans is they can submit their claim before August 9th, 2023, so they can be backdated to August 10th, 2022. So what that means for veterans is they should not wait until August to apply. If they are ready to apply, they should apply today.
Okay. Now, you know how deadlines come and go, right? And then you walk into the office and you go, oh, I missed the deadline. Are there any options for veterans who, that they're caught in that situation? Maybe there were health issues or they couldn't get to where they needed to be to make this happen. Are there any options for them if they do miss deadlines?
Of course. So, of course, with the PACT Act benefits, there's no deadline to apply because a veteran can apply for benefits at any time that they're ready. What I would advise veterans is in the event that they're not ready and they're listening to this show, you can always call the 1-800-827-1000 number. When you call them, you will speak to a National Contact Center representative, and you can tell them, I would like to file an intent to file. What that does is that preserves your effective date for benefits, meaning VA puts a note in the system that you have an intent to file. Then you have 1 year to gather your evidence and submit your application for benefits. So that gives people time to get their private medical evidence going. They can, find out more about how to complete an application. They can reach out to veteran service officers to obtain assistance in filing the claim. So it just gives them more time to file for these benefits.
So they can actually call the number and then just put on, I'm contacting you. So that can give them a year, 1 year, a full year to file their claim? Yes. So there's another way to do it besides just calling the number. You can call, the first thing is you can call that number. Additionally, if you log into va.gov and set up an account, and if you just start your application but do not complete it, that also preserves that intent to file date. So that's also very important to know. Yes, that's great. I mean, that gives them time. And sometimes you hear about these things and it's like, oh, I want to do that, but just there's no time. You just feel kind of rushed and you just don't feel like you have time to meet all the deadlines and everything that comes up. Has that happened? Do you hear that a lot with veterans? Yes. And one tip that I have for veterans listening out there is throughout these events that we've been meeting with veterans, many times veterans, they don't go to the doctor for their ailments because, maybe they're not entitled to health care or they simply don't go. So what helps a claim is if a veteran, let's just say they have, frequent tinnitus, which is a noise exposure. And let's say they haven't gone to the doctor for that condition and they don't have it diagnosed. They can write a statement about their symptoms and submit it with their application. And that statement of symptoms can be used as one of the elements for service connection, which is the
current evidence of a medical condition. Obviously, you cannot self-diagnose yourself with something such as cancer or something that needs to be diagnosed by a medical professional. But if you have, for example, like chronic tinnitus or an injury from service that's been chronic and that's been affecting your current living situation or, your daily activities, then you can definitely write a statement describing those symptoms.
So really quality of life, right? I mean, you're talking about, how, just daily. Like you can't make it to the refrigerator because your hip gives out or whatever. They could just make a list of like things that affect them daily, as far as their quality of life. And then some may apply probably, but some may not, right? But is it worth a shot to write everything down?
Yes, definitely. Because when the claim is received, they're looking at medical evidence. They're looking at, they're looking at your electronic files, so documents. So sometimes veterans just submit the claim without any supporting documents, and that results, in a denial. So anything to help paint the picture of what's going on with you, that will help.
Then, okay, great. Now, once they submit that, then they can set up an appointment to be evaluated, right? This is like the first step, right?
Correct. So, correct. Okay. So there are three things for service connection. So the first thing is that the event has to happen to you in service or an injury in service. Then you have to have evidence of a current condition that is shown by medical evidence or that statement that we talked about. Once you have those two, the VA will request an exam, and these exams are conducted sometimes by contractors, and they will determine if your current condition is related to service. Now, this is different for PACT Act conditions because for PACT Act, we have presumptive conditions. So the veteran, as long as they served in a location and they have the condition that is presumptive, they don't have to prove that it's related to service. So there's two different things going on here.
Okay. Right. Okay. So the list that we talked about in the previous program, the presumptive conditions. Now, could they be able to, when they stop by to the event, are those presumptive conditions, are there, information about those as well?
Yes. We provide information, and then also when they receive their toxic screening or if they enroll in healthcare, they also get more information from the healthcare providers.
Okay, great. Great. Now, and with the PACT Act event, which is awesome that this is going on, can you think of anything that kind of impacted you as well? I asked Robert the same thing on the last program, but just, something that you felt like, wow, that was amazing when you were at the event and you were helping veterans kind of decide if they, fell into the PACT Act benefits, arena.
Yes. I actually do want to highlight one specific veteran that I was able to assist at an event, and he was a Vietnam veteran. He has never, ever filed a claim, and he was under the impression that he can only file a claim at this event. So I just want to put the word out there that you don't have to wait for these events to file a claim. Although it does help that we are in the community, but you don't have to wait. You can see a veteran service officer. You can come to the regional office. You can file online. So there are many options for you to file that claim. But this Vietnam veteran came to the event. He was suffering from homelessness. He was suffering from mental health conditions. He had diabetes that he was not treating, and he served in Vietnam, and diabetes is a presumptive condition of exposure to Agent Orange. So we were able to file his claim, and I'm pretty sure that as long as he has a compensable degree of disability, he will get benefits, and he will have eligibility to health care and other benefits that he's entitled to. So it was just really special spending time with veterans and, being out in the community, and especially on a Saturday, because some of these veterans are actively working. So being available, when they're available definitely helps to get the word out.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes that's a little bit of a misnomer that just because you're a veteran, that you don't have a job. I don't know why, but sometimes I get that impression when during those appointments, being available or just, it just seems like, no, I'm a veteran, but I do work full time too,
Correct.
I think that's a preconceived idea. Do you feel that too sometimes?
Sure. But, veterans, they serve their time and then they have to go back to society. So we're just here to provide them with all the resources that we have, and, they can reach out to us.
Yes, that's great. What are some challenges you feel in filing? Have you seen any challenges or just some challenges veterans should be aware of, but not maybe, worry about? Sometimes you're filing some benefits, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Don't be worried that may happen, but continue to do so. So if you could kind of explain some of those things.
Sure. There are a couple of things that I would like to go over. So the first thing is that veterans should know that they don't need to submit their service medical records or their DD-214 to file a claim. Since these are federal records, the VA will obtain these records for them. Additionally, I want to warn some veterans to be cautious of some companies who advertise VA benefits can only be obtained with their help. These companies may not be recognized by the VA and may be attempting to charge illegal fees. There is a website that they can check to see if a organization is accredited through the VA. It is www.va.gov/OGC/apps/accreditation. And you can search if that attorney, claims agent, or VSO is actually accredited through the Department of Veterans Affairs to assist you with that claim. We have seen some veterans that are being, fished through email, social media, with aggressive companies who may try to pressure them to sign contracts or insisting that they must sign up now or they may lose their chance for benefits. So I don't want veterans to think that they have to sign up with these companies. They should look up to see if the person helping them is actually accredited.
Absolutely. That is so disheartening that there are companies trying to take advantage of veterans and pressuring them to sign up, through them and scamming them.
Sure.
And getting their information. That's terrible.
Sure.
That's happening.
There are plenty of accredited veteran service officers, agents, and attorneys who can help. And also our team, the public contact team, which we're located at 2122 West Taylor Street. We provide free assistance. We also have veteran service officers in the building who can assist for free to obtain these benefits. So definitely be cautious of companies out there, especially with this type of legislation.
Now, on that point of free, so if they're getting calls that we're charging a fee, basically, like you were talking about, just again to reiterate that, beware, right? Because there should be no fee charged.
Correct.
What type of? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
If they suspect any scams or anything like that, they can definitely contact the VA Office of Inspector General, the OIG hotline. They can also file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission because they should report these types of companies.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. So now I wanted to talk a little more about what you were talking about as far as information provided at the event. So can you take us through in the process of the filing, like what they can expect when they get there as far as the process of what you're going to go over at the event in getting their benefits?
So at these events, we have our public contact team, and we also have claims processors that assist our team in coming out to these events. So what the veteran can expect is they will walk into these, our next claims clinic will be at the VA clinic at Chicago Heights. So it's a VA facility. They just show up. They don't have to bring. They just have to bring an ID. They don't have to bring their DD-214 or anything like that. They will actually sit down with a VA representative where they will discuss their specific, case. So if they need assistance with PACT Act benefits or any other benefits, we will be there to assist them. And what we do is we will actually provide them the form. They can either fill it out with us and we will, process the form for them, or we will provide that form for them and then tell them how to return it. But either way, they will get access to these benefits by these events.
That's great. Now, why would you encourage, or what are your thoughts on encouraging them to attend these type of benefits over like going to your office? Do you feel like, what are the advantages maybe of attending this in person?
Well, along with getting, the toxic screening or enrolling in healthcare, filing your claim, or getting assistance with any other VA benefits, we also have resource fairs. So we also have, I know the VA hospital, they had like whole health. They had various different resources besides just filing a claim for them. So there's just more information about the benefits that they have earned.
Okay, so beyond just the PACT Act is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Other health, related issues. Yeah.
Yes, because we essentially want to get veterans service connected, because once you're service connected, it opens you up to other benefits such as veteran readiness and employment. It gets you healthcare benefits. So service connection is key.
Absolutely. Do you have any tips for anyone who may be frustrated? Say, I filed something 6 months ago and I went through these processes and then I was told I don't qualify. Are there anything that you could suggest to them, as far as like, what do I do, or to like reapply, or, any tips on anything like that?
Yes. So anytime a veteran files a claim, they will be, as long as it's on the prescribed form, they will receive what's called a rating decision. That rating decision will tell the veteran exactly what they claimed, what was granted, what was denied, and why. And what's key is they actually tell you what element of service connection was not met. So, for example, sometimes a veteran, they served in Vietnam, they claim diabetes, but they go to the exam and there's no evidence that that condition is diagnosed. So sometimes you get denied for not having evidence of a current condition. So what I would tell that veteran is make sure you read your letters and appeal if you're within the timelines. And moving forward, just know that you can always appeal a decision. A decision is final after a year, but you can still file after that year as long as you have new and relevant evidence. So the bottom line is do not give up, read the rating decision, and, there's evidence out there that can, help support your claim.
That's great. Now, I know sometimes when they get the benefit, decision, I've heard veterans say, I didn't understand it. Like, I don't know what they're talking about. It's kind of like, I just know I was denied. What are your recommendations for those veterans who need help kind of just going over what the decision was and the next steps?
I would say definitely they can always call the 1-800-827-1000 number, because the representative can go over why they were denied. They can also visit our office and they can request a copy of these records to figure out why they were denied. And the key is just to get evidence, and figure out the reason why that connection couldn't be made, and then get the evidence to support that claim.
Okay. Now, we talked a little bit about military spouses on the last program, and can you kind of talk us through, like, for military spouses, what it looks like for them, like attending the event? Does the testing, same things apply for them as well? Is there, spouses? What does that look like for them?
So for spouses, there are two survivor benefits that we have. One is based on if the veteran served in wartime and based on their income, and that's called survivor's pension benefits. The other one is very important also, is called VA-DIC, dependency and indemnity compensation benefits. And those are important because if a veteran died from a service-connected condition, then the spouse would be eligible for compensation after the veteran's death. And what's important with that one is a lot of widows were previously denied, and because of the expansion of the PACT Act, the conditions have been updated. So if there's any widows listening, if you were previously denied, come back and see us, because you may just have to reapply, because now the condition is presumptive and now you may be entitled for benefits.
Great. So if, like you said, so come back, just try again, right? Go through the process.
Yes. The one thing we don't want is a veteran to be completely discouraged and feel like they don't have access to the VA, because there's health care, there's benefits, there's education, there's home loans, there's so many benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I just really want veterans to know about their benefits.
Are they able to, are military spouses also like able to, apply for benefits at the event as well, the PACT Act events?
Yes.
Okay. So they can actually apply too. Have you found, what is your impression of like the process? Do you feel like the process is kind of difficult regarding the PACT Act, or do you feel like, or do you feel like it's actually, you kind of like worked out the bugs in it and you feel like, it's kind of smoother now? I know it's a process when you have something new. What do you think, what is your impression of it now as far as like the process for them?
I actually think that based on how much the PACT Act expanded benefits and based on the data of how many veterans have applied and how many were approved, the total approval rate for PACT Act claims is actually 79.1%. And just to get some numbers going, there were 329,000 total veteran and survivors with completed PACT Act related claims between August 10th, 2022 and June 17th, 2023, and 279,925 of those were approved. So I think it's definitely improved and expanded eligibility and benefits to veterans and survivors.
Absolutely. Okay, Justyna, I heard the numbers, but what was the difference? How many did not get denied?
How many
did not get denied?
So 79 got approved.
79%.
Yes.
Is it percent? Okay, 79%. Okay, I just had to rethink that number. Okay, sorry. That's awesome. 79%. That's very high. That's awesome.
That's very high, right? So it's definitely improved.
Yes. So we have about 1 minute left, Justyna. So give me some closing thoughts for our audience and just, in getting these benefits and claims submitted.
I would say come out to our next PACT Claims Clinic on Saturday, July 29th at the Chicago VA Clinic. And if not, sign up on va.gov and please, please, please get your benefits in before August 9th, 2023 to receive that backdated date to August 10th, 2022.
Can you repeat the number they can call again one more time, too?
The number would be 1-800-827-1000.
great. Thank you so much, Justyna, for being here today and sharing this great information and trying to help them not be discouraged. Keep filing and do appeals, right? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned.
Bye-bye.
Oh, you're so welcome. Okay, thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more from America's Heroes Group.
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host of America's Heroes Group. We have helped hundreds and thousands of veterans find the resources they needed to move on past trauma, find the services they need to heal, find training, jobs, and housing. That's our mission. To support this mission so that we can continue our work and have even more veteran stories of overcoming and success, we need your help. Right now, please consider making a donation to America's Heroes Group. Dig deep and give what you can to support this mission and help those veterans in need. You can donate through Chase Bank's Zelle app by adding America's Heroes Group as a recipient with our phone number 312-804-5831. You can donate through PayPal on our website, americashg.org. From the home page, go to donations, or you can go straight to www.americashg.org/donations. And finally, you can send a check to America's Heroes Group, Inc., 155 North Quaker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
We have in our Chase bags, we have a care package of hygiene, we have shaving equipment, we have razors, and for the women we have the same personal hygiene items for them as well. And we want to say thank you for their service. This is Chase Bank. Thank you very much. People in the neighborhood, free haircuts, free service, free food. You look good. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
On behalf of Cliff Kelley, America's Heroes Group, we sincerely thank Chase Bank for coming where it matters to help homeless veterans have a hot meal today and a care package. We are sincerely grateful for this partnership. Yes.
Welcome to America's Heroes Group. Hear your voice where we connect the disconnected intentionally.
Who is Cliff Kelley, the governor of talk radio, the icon of radio throughout the world.
Chauncey Spencer II and I, again, share a special relationship. His late great father, Tuskegee Airman Chauncey E. Spencer, took me as a child on my first airplane ride.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is something that people need to see. Often we don't, do the things to show how great our people are. It changes the paradigm of how people think about us, about the collective consciousness of what it means to be us.
And we've been having great conversations about trying to get more African Americans into aviation. And we got a bill that we're trying to get passed that would allow the Pell Grant to be used to help finance aviation education.
This is where I started with this entire conversation by saying, if it were not for America's Heroes Group, I would have given up. So I want to get all my accolades out the way on behalf of America's Heroes Group. Ms. Glenda, thank you. Thank you for encouraging me to press on. I would encourage you all to support this organization. One thing for sure, America's Hero Group is out there. Ms. Glenda will take the time. Ms. Glenda Smith will take the time to listen to you and to steer you in the direction that you need to go.
Thank you for watching another episode of America's Heroes Group, where we provide education about resources and information for our veterans, military, and their family.
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host of America's Heroes Group. We have helped hundreds and thousands of veterans find the resources they needed to move on past trauma, find the services they need to heal, find training, jobs, and housing. That's our mission. To support this mission so that we can continue our work and have even more veteran stories of overcoming and success, we need your help. Right now, please consider making a donation to America's Heroes Group. Dig deep and give what you can to support this mission and help those veterans in need. You can donate through Chase Bank's Zelle app by adding America's Heroes Group as a recipient with our phone number 312-804-5831. You can donate through PayPal on our website, americashg.org. From the home page, go to donations, or you can go straight to www.americashg.org/donations. And finally, you can send a check to America's Heroes Group, Inc., 155 North Quaker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group for the Roundtable. Our partner, National Women Veterans. Excuse me. Sorry, something in my throat. With National Women Veterans United. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. Today is Saturday, July 8th, 2023. Our host is Cliff Kelley. Our co-host is myself, Debra Denhart, U.S. Air Force veteran and host of Women Have a Voice program. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scouts Honor Productions. We are joined today by Rochelle Crump. Rochelle is a U.S. Army veteran, founder and president of National Women Veterans United. Rochelle, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Debra. I enjoy, the opportunity all the time to be able to speak about, things that affect and have an impact on military women veterans and, of course, our organization and things that we do. We see a lot of disparities and things like that, we love that we have a voice to be able to share that information to the public so that they can be educated on it. So thank you.
Absolutely. And our topic today is the Service Members and Veterans Empowerment and Support Act of 2023. So I really want you first. Can you explain what this act is and what it means to service members and veterans?
Okay, so that legislation is being proposed by the DAV and the DAV Auxiliary. And it is basically talking about the military sexual trauma and assault in the military and service, and the the disparities that are going on with even when they get out and they're putting their claims in. The VA had this around early on when they started having a larger population of women veterans coming forward to talk about military sexual trauma and assault. And what they did was they denied quite a few claims. In fact, the majority of them, because they're citing there wasn't enough evidence, there wasn't enough documentation, and it's hard to prove in so many ways. A lot of them would be silent and not necessarily talk about it. And then when they got out and they heard that that was actually a claim that they could tell their story, it wasn't so much about the compensation. It was more about what happened to them. It was their story. It was things that basically they still live today. And so this actual bill points out the fact that the VA has not done due diligence in order to, help them through this process. They've denied them based on improper development. They basically have not included a lot of times post-traumatic stress disorder along with the military sexual trauma. And that, they reported that over 40% of the claimants who, requested a particular examination were not honored for their stories and what they told and what happened to them. And so the DAV has, examined this, and they see the wrong that has been done. They see the struggles that they have not yet corrected in the Department of Veterans Affairs, the policies and current long-standing problems in administering claims from military survivors. So a lot of times what happens also is that women give up on their claims after they've been denied. They walk away because they're angry. No one heard them. They don't get the support that they need, which means that then they are not eligible a lot of times, because if it's a peacetime person, peacetime service member, and this is not just women, it's men also. We want to make that clear. There's a percentage of men who have been basically caught up in that same scenario where they have not been honored, in terms of reporting, what happened to them and what happened, at that. Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I really kind of woke up when I read some of the statistics myself, and I thought 1 in 3 women have been affected by military sexual, trauma, and 1 in 50 men. I mean, sometimes you just don't think that, men are involved too, so we can't leave them out as well, as far as the piece of this, as this, trauma is affecting them.
Yes. And, it was a lot of, it depended on where people were, what basically they were dealing with, in terms of even like when you talk about the Navy, the Navy is something that's rare. So you have those small quarters. You have them out on the, water months at a time, and, it's just a total different process than, with your Army, the Navy, the Air Force, And so those things were really like probably ongoing a longer time than what we know in terms of, reporting and things like that about what was happening. And so we have to look at the fact that, women, they get discouraged. They're not getting the help that they need for that. And as I was saying about the peacetime, they won't be eligible a lot of times for service, healthcare services in the VA because of the peacetime service. And, we look at that, and then you have to wait so long. Well, there are thousands of claims that are pending now. It's a huge number. As each year it gets worse, because more people are filing for different things. Then came along the PACT, and that added on to it, and it's a really tedious job, to examine the information that you get on medicals. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them are not doctors. That's one thing, and they do a lot of referring out, and they also do a lot of, having to do appeals as well, because once they turn them down, and people encourage them to file an appeal, so they're coming back again. So it's just tons and tons of claims, and they're telling people now, it's almost 2 years. It could be 2 whole years before you even get information. That's why they encourage them. Number one is to try to get as much evidence as you can, and to make sure that, you stay on it. And any evidence that you have, that means getting letters from people who serve with you, having your family can give notifications about how you were at one time and how you are now, from the time that you left to go into the service to how you're doing now. A lot of them wind up homeless because they can't work. They carry this trauma around with them all the time. It doesn't go away. It's not easy, when that happens to you.
Well, it takes courage to just make that step. It takes courage to say, I'm going to file. I want to file for benefits, and to just kind of like say it out loud, because while they're in the military, they're afraid to say anything. There's been pressure. I've talked to multiple women who have been, has military sexual trauma, and some because of fear didn't say anything while they were active duty, and so, and some did say something, so I think it just depends on, there were different branches involved, and, I think it's just for them to, so this process that you're talking about of just filing, what are some of those challenges that you've seen in just the filing process?
That people believe in you. That's the first thing. And, before they didn't have a lot of women who were service officers who they would be able to go to and tell their stories to, and, feel like they're being heard. So, they have a much larger population of women who are actually service officers now. So that was one good step that they made. However, they don't make the decisions. So it comes to the decisions. You have people who are biased in every way about, what happened to you and why people can't move on. This must not have been, such a terrible ordeal. They're still doing this. They may still be working, not to look into everything that's going on in their lives, So I think a lot of it comes from just plain, I would just say, people's interpretation and their own biases that they have in order to understand what happened to somebody else. everybody's trauma is not your trauma, you know. So, you know, you go through that process and you expect that at some point in time, you know, they will, you know, right now I got a really bad case and, you know, I can't really talk about it. I can tell you that they even had evidence, you know, and it was lucky that the family, she is deceased now, but the family is fighting, you know, on her behalf. And they even had a news article where it was from the, I guess, the sheriff's office or something like that, that was having a media, you know, a media piece with the news, and they told everything about what had happened, how the person got on base, and all of this. They found the person with their purse, and you know, they had all of this evidence, like in black and white, and the VA still ignored it. I mean, it was just unreal. However, she passed before she could, you know, defend what happened to her. And so, you know, we look at that a lot of times when we say defend it physically, but also mentally, it wears on them, you know, and then they shut down. So, you know, that's a lot of what we see in what happens to those claims sometimes, and then they sit idle because they just can't deal with it right now. You know, then they may come back later on because people are encouraging them, no, don't give up. You know, you have to keep going with it, you know, and it's true. You know, you have to stay with it because if you don't, you won't get it.
Absolutely. Do you feel this act will help? I know one of the points was to help with the documentation, right, in this act. Now, it's in process, right? It hasn't been enacted yet. Is that right?
That's correct. It's actually a proposal somewhat, you know, but they're trying to push it out to the public to make them more aware of it. And basically, this is what I really like about the DAV is that they actually can compose those letters for the senators, for your congressperson, and you don't have much to do. You know what I'm saying? It tells you the information that you need to know about the bill, and then it also assists you through a portal or app that allows you to just sign your name in there after you've read it and you agree with it and you're helping the cause, you know, and that's great because, you know, some people, I'm not good at writing or, you know, they get too busy to do this and, you know, things like that. This helps to move the legislation along for those that make decisions. They can see how many people have been alerted to this issue and then it's on them, you know. So it's a great number. Way. Yeah.
Right, Rochelle. So power and number, right?
Yeah.
We need to get our names on there to read this and help support. Now, how can they do that? Who can they call?
Yes.
What's the contact information for them to say, hey, I want help with this or connect me to how I can be part of this?
Yes, they can call the DAV. They should call the DAV directly. You know, there are several organizations. If they just Google them, look them up, some may be in their neighborhood. You know, just contact them, tell them they heard about it, and they would like to support it, and they will give them the information, and they will give them, you know, the tools that they need to actually just sign in online. So, you know, it's a good thing. Yeah, that would be the best way that I would suggest that they do it.
Okay, DAV as in Victor. Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's their acronym.
The interesting thing that I thought about this act that would help with documentation, because it brings out non-military supportive documentation.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Your family. Yeah. Oh, right. Absolutely.
Oh, right.
Absolutely. Your family. You know, they see you. They see how you were. They know how you were in school before you went into the military and, you know, and you made that sacrifice. You know, they saw you when you came home. And the thing about it is a lot of them get out earlier than what they might have done had they not been assaulted. You know, they can't deal with it anymore. And also to see the perpetrator still walking around because a lot of them were officers. And so a lot of people didn't believe it. They didn't believe it, you know, and the ones that they actually, went to court and all that kind of stuff, they basically were able to retire out of the military. And one of the things that we, the National Women Veterans United, has been pushing for is to, the remedy is make the penalties harder. Number one, that's the first thing. Don't let them retire. And if they do retire, they leave out, if in fact they have been convicted, that they should go on the National Register as a sex offender. It's just as simple as that. There's no reason. And I don't know if you saw the report from the Military Times back in March. Well, now they call it something else. They didn't call it rape. They call it unwanted sex. And what a slap in the face that is to women and to, the men who may have been harmed. Rape is rape, and you call it what it is so that the penalty can fit that bill. And so, if in fact they are registered offenders, then they have a record, unlike them getting out of the military and being a predator in the community. And some of them may have even come into the military as a predator. Who knows?
So they don't. They're not listed as a predator when they leave the military if that happens during the military. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. That is correct. They get a court martial. They may have to do some time in the brig, but they're not on the register. That has not been the legislative piece for them to force that onto the legislation.
Is that part? I didn't see that in this act, but maybe on the next one. I mean, I guess this is a start, right? This is a start
It's a start. It's a start, but this is like the second round because, thanks to organizations like this that, are still fighting for us, and rightfully so, because they're seeing the injustice that has, actually taken place, that is just making it harder for women to even go into their organizations. You know what I'm saying? Because they're male-dominated organizations, and if you've been a victim of, this type of behavior, you're not willing to go and sit in those organizations where there are hardly no women and all men. So, they see the impact that it actually has on, their membership, on women that they talk to. And so, we thank them for, that awareness and standing up for us, Yeah, so there's
about a minute.
So much more.
Sorry, Michelle. We have about a minute left, but I want you to a few closing thoughts before we close it out, and encouraging those women to not give up, to continue to have a voice and speak up. So go ahead.
Absolutely. And so, what we want them to do is to connect to organizations. They don't have to join our organization. They should check us out, though, to see if we have, in fact, some things that can help them. Right now, what we're doing is we're looking at the fact that there is so much going on in the communities with the killings, with all of this bad behavior, and people are afraid. They're staying in their homes. They're stressed out, and so many other things, finances, everything that there is that, does not let us live in peace. So what we're doing now is monthly. We have partnered with the American Red Cross, and they're actually facilitating their adult connecting workshops.
Sorry,
so
Rochelle.
Every month we have one.
I'm sorry, Rochelle, I got to cut you off, but we got to close out. But thank you so much for being a guest today. I really appreciate it, building awareness on this, and just for us to connect with Deb, to have a voice in this, and empower our women to say something, and our men. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more America's Heroes Group.
Hi, this is Cliff Kelley, Vietnam veteran, co-founder, and host of America's Heroes Group. We have helped hundreds and thousands of veterans find the resources they needed to move on past trauma, find the services they need to heal, find training, jobs, and housing. That's our mission. To support this mission so that we can continue our work and have even more veteran stories of overcoming and success, we need your help. Right now, please consider making a donation to America's Heroes Group. Dig deep and give what you can to support this mission and help those veterans in need. You can donate through Chase Bank's Zelle app by adding America's Heroes Group as a recipient with our phone number 312-804-5831. You can donate through PayPal on our website, americashg.org. From the home page, go to donations, or you can go straight to www.americashg.org/donations. And finally, you can send a check to America's Heroes Group, Inc., 155 North Quaker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group's Roundtable with our partner, Veteran Legislative Voice and AHG Correspondent. July is American Diabetes and National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. Today is Saturday, July 8th, 2023. Our host is Cliff Kelley. I'm your co-host, Debra Denhart, U.S. Air Force veteran and host of Women Have a Voice program. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scouts Honor Productions. And we're joined right now with our partner, Stephanie Colota. Stephanie is a U.S. Army Reserve Sergeant, First Class veteran, and founder and creator of Veteran Legislative Voice and AHG Correspondent. Thank you so much for being here today, Stephanie.
About all this good stuff. Hi, I'm excited to be there and be here with you guys and talk about all this good stuff.
Yes, absolutely. How are you doing today?
Doing great. I'm in Florida, so it's a beautiful 98 degrees down here, and so my AC is working today.
Oh yes, that's great. Nice. I love that. Now we are going to be talking about the new reports regarding military and veteran suicide, which were staggering to me.
Yes,
when I did some research.
Yeah, it is.
Can you share some of those, like some of the statistics that related to this veteran and military suicides?
Yeah, well, the DoD released their quarterly report for the suicides that's been happening within the military, and that's of the first quarter, and it has increased. But I will say it is scary. It's increased higher than it was from the previous year. But in the past 2 years total, we've actually been seeing downward numbers. So I want to stay a little bit optimistic here, and maybe this one last quarter was a fluke, but there's been a lot of things that's been moving and been implemented by Congress and the military in the past year or so. So I'm really excited to talk about that type of stuff to hopefully keep the numbers low and going down, because the goal is 0.
Right, absolutely. Now, it was very interesting as far as certain branches were higher in the number of suicides. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, that can vary on different things. I will say up tempo. If those that don't know what that means, it's basically like the rhythm and the amount of intensity the work is for the mission that the units have can change a lot of things. In the past year, more people are not working remotely anymore. Our numbers went down during COVID because majority of our forces were working remotely, which can help with mental health because they're right there in their home. They're able to relax more, decompress more. But when you're having to be in the workplace, it can be a totally different issue. So that can play a lot into it. I'm a little surprised at the Navy staying the same, mostly because there's been a lot of issues that's been happening with a higher concentration of deaths by suicide for sailors that are working on ships that are currently going through their renovations, because that can be a really stressful and high intense work environment. And a lot of those sailors that had died by suicide were the ones that had to live on the ship as it was going through renovation.
Wow. And I noticed like the Army was the highest.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it was.
Like the Army, and then I think below that was the Marines.
So, the Marine Corps. The Army increased by 12. The Marine Corps increased by 6. The Navy stayed the same. The Air Force increased by 1. And with the Space Force, there's no deaths of suicide, but I think they're under 500 members right now. So, but we'll keep up on that one as well.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting as far as like the Army division in Alaska.
Yes.
That has some high number of suicides. And what are some things that were affecting that? I mean, it was crazy, the number of suicides in Alaska.
Yeah, well, it's the weather. Can be very, very harmful to someone's health. One of the things with Alaska is that there are times where there is no light or no sun or very little sun. And we know that the lack of sun equals deficiency in vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiencies actually can increase likelihood of mental health issues and many other issues, but mental health is a very big one there. When I served on Fort Lewis in Washington State, I was definitely vitamin D deficient and had to be on supplements. And I noticed a big difference when my numbers went back up into the healthy range. And so one of those things is pretty big to keep a watch on. And the other part is that it's very geographically isolating. Alaska is huge. There are only so many people per capita, and it counts as an overseas deployment or overseas assignment because it's so far from family.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of times Alaska does count that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Alaska does count as overseas assignment, like Hawaii. They're counted as overseas assignments because, or at least from what I remember, because it's so far from their families in hometowns.
That's true. And the connection with other people, if you're so isolated, that's a huge impact on your mental health, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And one of the things that I'm kind of encouraged about, one of the Army divisions in Alaska has been doing, they started mandatory wellness counseling with their soldiers. So they're requiring them to go see mental health professionals in the very first 6 months of implementation, then again every year. And they also will count chaplains, and it basically will help them really introduce themselves to the mental health program and the different ways that they can help them with the variety of therapies that they could provide to help, because some service members prefer to speak to a chaplain. Some service members would not really want to talk about it at all, but that's fine. There's other therapies that they can do for that. And that's one of these things that I think is really encouraging to see. I do remember, I believe it was in Fort Sill or Fort Riley a couple of years ago, the entire, the base commander had instituted something similar. And so they've been seeing a little bit of improvement. He has since parted. He's somewhere else from what I remember. But I would love to see the numbers from that. That has yet to be published to see how that affected things.
On that same line, is that the same as Mission 100, what you're talking about, or is that's something different?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is Mission 100. I'm still a little new to this one, so I can't give you a whole ton of information. But it is mostly just trying to get them in touch with mental health facilities and their variety of treatments for wellness. And, another thing that the team leaders or the leadership of the soldiers are supposed to contact their family members and introduce themselves. So you have that little bit of extra help there, which can really help out a lot. When I had worked for the Army Reserve as a DoD civilian, I often had to contact the family just to get a read on what's going on. You only see your soldiers once a month, if that, and sometimes things happen in between. And having that extra help with family members can really help things.
I really was impressed with the Mission 100 in Alaska because of their high suicides at Fort Wainwright, and they, provide plane tickets for their service members, the blackout curtains, because like you said, sleep affects that, right? Because it's daylight, so that's, if you're sleep deprived, that can also cause, not good mental wellness, bad, poor mental wellness, and like you said, talking to chaplains, and they're available after hours. Those could be some things that any location, any assignment could just simply offer and just look into to help with these suicide rates. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really think that would be something that would be really helpful, especially with many other bases. Just having that, I guess, customized care for your own soldiers, your own troops, is something that's really important. Something that's, that would affect something very local to them. In the South, it's the heat and the humidity that can really cause a lot of issues. And the small little things that helps around there can really make a difference. I've even, because I've had training in yoga practice. And so when I was in the Army Reserves, we had a very trying couple of months because we lost not one but two members of our people in our company, and not to suicide. Both of them were accidents, and but everybody was very emotionally affected. So after one of the memorial services that we held, I took them back to the drill hall, and we brought out all those big wrestling mats, and we did yoga for a good hour. And we ended with the savasana pose, where everybody would just relax and just meditate, laying really comfortably on the ground. And a good amount of my soldiers fell asleep. I let them stay for at least a good 30 minutes because 30 minutes nap is perfect. And that really helped them out a lot. They really bounced back after that. And those little things is what counts for mental health. I do want to talk about I do want to talk about the Brandon Act because a couple of months ago, in May, the DoD has finally started their implementation of it. The Brandon Act is basically, it's giving the soldiers, the service members, the right to go see mental health, and they request it through their chain of command, their leadership and commander. And it's supposed to give them complete protection, to see mental health without any reprisal, without any issues being treated one way or another. And this is really important. It's named after Petty Officer Third Class Brandon Casarda, who died by suicide back in 2018. And since then, his parents, who actually his father was a Master Chief, he and his wife and the mother basically fought for this act for the rest of Brandon's sailors and all of his coworkers there.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's so. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. So yeah, so we're hoping to see it's supposed to be completely implemented for active duty. We might see some effects or some talk about it in a couple of months, so we'll see how that goes. I see about Congress maybe having to talk about that specifically in about 6 months to a year.
How do you think that will impact our service members now when that's implemented?
I think it would really help with trying to banish out the stigma of going to mental health. The other thing about it is that the more that commanders see or leadership see who actually goes, because the thing is that a lot of times that happens in the military is leadership overreact when someone goes to mental health, because the very quick knee-jerk reaction is, oh my God, they're crazy, or oh my God, they're going to kill themselves. Well, that's not really one of the reasons why they go to mental health. They go because they're not feeling good, and it's just like a cold. It's just like, a sprained ankle. You're not feeling good. You're not feeling right. You can get this checked up. When I was the thing is that I was very upfront and honest after a while, because in the beginning, people only thought I went to dental. And then afterwards, I became very honest about it, because no one would actually believe that I was actively seeking therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and taking medication, mostly because it helps. I have a head injury, and biochemistry can be really affected by head injuries and other forms of trauma, and that can really change things. And so medication helps with that. And having more exposure to people knowing who's pretty much the leadership knowing and understanding about mental health themselves would really help out a lot.
That's such a great point. If your leaders speak up and say, I know it's helped in my organization that I'm in, when our leader, comes up and says, I want everyone to make sure that you're taking time for your family, take your leave. He promotes that. And I love that, because it gives me the freedom to say, okay, I know there's a lot of work, but he also says you have to take care of yourself. So if more people would say that, stand up for that and say, if you need to see someone to take care of you, do that. So what kind of an impact would that have for the soldiers?
Huge impact. I was lucky for one of the battalion commanders I used to work for. He was actually a psychology high school teacher, and he openly talked about therapy and help, and basically tried to help people understand that self-care is needed. You're going to need to take that time off, and but a lot of leaders still forget this. So this is something that leaders can learn from, and I'm hoping that will also come into play and help the leaders pretty much be better leaders.
Absolutely. And, there was an example in the information, one of the articles David sent, that was a little disappointing, and I think it's maybe something for them to learn, is that, one of the, this was in Alaska, a member had gone to chaplain, and ended up going every day.
Yeah.
And then he was reprimanded because he went over on his, counseling time therapy, with the chaplain, and then the supervisor reprimanded him. And he said, I was in, counseling, I was with the chaplain, and he still got reprimanded. So, that support needs to be there too, don't you think? I mean, you have to, if you're going to say we want your mental well-being, you have to have, the supervisors need to yes, don't reprimand them for being in with the chaplain. right?
Right. Yeah, because they could just be having a tough time over something, and a lot of people need that. I mean, it's just like having a pulled muscle, and you're having the time off from all the physical things that you have to do. Having that really helps. And one of the things when I was a leader was understanding what's really going on with the soldiers. So then you can find out so many things. You can find out how to better lead them, how to basically improve their day and their career, honestly. And you're more likely to get the mission done. And honestly, it sounds crazy, allowing them that time to get what's needed done, you actually can complete the missions quicker, faster, and with better quality. And so that's one of the things that I hope is starting to become more apparent for a lot of people.
You know, that's just like on an airplane. This is how I look at self-care. You know, if you don't grab the mask, they say, parents, put the mask on, put your oxygen mask on, and then take care of your children.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not taking care of yourself physically, mentally, how are you going to be a better service member? You know, how can you do your job effectively? I think it falls in that same category. So,
yeah, it does. Yes, most definitely. And so here about families, there's a bill out there right now that I think is really important. It's House Bill 3077, and it establishes a counseling program for certain survivors of veterans who had died at the result of suicide. I think this is also would be important for military families as well. They do have specific benefits that happens as well, but this one would be really important for them, and it's called the Green Star Families Act. And many people might know with the military that there's a star that means several things. A blue star is for service members that are currently serving or currently deployed. Gold star for those that had died in action. And there isn't one for suicide or those that died stateside with training accidents, what have you. And so this would actually implement that, pretty much more benefits and more help for those families that could be impacted because of suicide.
How can our audience find out more about it?
Just go ahead and Google. Go ahead and Google it, Green Star Families Act. It was introduced by Representative Van Drew. He's from New Jersey, Republican, and I think this would be really important. Google your House representative. How do I find my House rep? And you could get their office numbers. A lot of times they'll have mobile office hours. If you sign up for, their newsletters and such, you'll be contacted and you get a lot of information. You can actually sign up for that for like a lot of representatives that you might not be in their district for. So you get to find out a lot of different things. But I highly encourage people to do that, especially with their senators as well. And just give the office a call. I encourage people to call the DC office. You're most likely going to get an intern that is a low-paid or volunteer intern that answers first. So just ask them to speak to somebody that is a liaison to military and veterans, and then you talk to that person. Tell them that they want their representative or senator to support this Green Star Families Act.
That's amazing. That is great.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so important
that it's. Go ahead.
It's so important also to understand that representatives and senators want to know what their constituents want to pass. They want to hear what's needed, especially with those things that's been happening, the active shooters, those different things. Many people will call up their House representatives and senators for basically seeking support and trying to make a change. This one is just as important in trying to get this changed.
Yes, and it's also showing the importance of, this is important, suicide is happening. To active duty service members, to veterans, and to have a voice in, that process. And just also say, let's do something, right? Is this their way of also, for us as, communities, having a voice by calling that office as well, right?
Yes, so important. So in 2020, over 6,000 veterans had died by suicide. There are estimates, and other research that says that the numbers could be increased. It could be much more because the Warrior Partnership has done separate studies and they think that the number is much higher. And one of the reasons for that is because it's pretty difficult to identify who's a veteran unless the families volunteer that information. But if a veteran doesn't have a family or doesn't have any big identifiers in the home or what have you, that could actually be thrown on the rug and they can miss that. And that's actually pretty common with women veterans. Most veterans, especially male veterans, have patriotic-like tattoos, and women veterans are much less likely to have those. And the Warrior Partnership has said that those military tattoos are one of the biggest reasons how to identify a veteran. The other is finding their card or dog tags or what have you. But with women veterans, a lot of women veterans don't feel like they're veterans. And so they don't normally go for the benefits of veterans. And that can actually cause much big differences in studies. So we might not even know certain numbers that could be actually happening out there.
Wow, wow,
well, Stephanie,
wow.
thank you
Stephanie,
so much
what a great show.
I know, she's amazing. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here today. And thank you to our audience. And we'll definitely see you next time on America's Heroes Group in a week. So here's Glenda.
Well, not a week, monthly or as needed in terms of AHG Correspondent, because what we've done is increase her visibility and reach in terms of making sure that the audience is well informed regarding any latest legislative or public policy or anything like that. Stephanie is the best. I mean, seriously, she keeps you abreast of what is going on and she tells it like it is. So kudos
so
as
important.
Always. Yes, love her to pieces.
She's amazing.
She is totally amazing. Super Wonder Woman, yeah. Okay, we had some great shows today. Miss Debra Denhart co-hosts today, so we must do this on more than one occasion. What about that, Debra?
We'll have to see, yeah.
Yeah, we really do.
Well,
based on your availability, yes, we do. Have to bring you back and let you do a full show because today was phenomenal, and you were great. So, Jesse Brown, VA and Veterans Benefits Administration, please attend their PACT events. Please, veterans, family members, get out there so you can get your benefits. It's so needed. To our partner, National Women Veterans United, Rochelle Crum, who always does also a phenomenal job telling it like it is in regards to women veterans and what's needed and what's not. So, super great shows as always. To our technical producer, Lady Kai, who keeps us balanced. Totally the best at WVON. And the only digital media producer we will ever need. The best, Mr. Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Production. I highly recommend this man's service. He has his own company. If you need to Google him, it's Scouts SCOUNT_S Production, Honor Production. Please, if you need digital media presence, he is the go-to person. I highly, and you never hear me recommend anybody, I highly recommend our digital media producer for your digital media services. Kudos to him. If you need to call America's Heroes Group regarding any information or resources, we are available at 312-803-2618. We're located at 155 North Wacker Drive, Suite 4250, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. Veterans, active service, family members, America's Heroes Group is your show. Cliff Kelley created this show back in 2016 for the purpose of giving you a voice. Why? Because you matter. Have a wonderful weekend to everyone. Blessings from America's Heroes Group.